Hello, my name is James Conlon. I'm from a company called VodaTrade. We specialize in marketing consultancy, business mentoring and training, along with responsive website design. I'm grateful for the opportunity to deliver this sales skills training module for the virtual incubation program, which is based at Creative Spark in Dundalk and Millmount in Drogheda. Just to let you know, along with this presentation video, there will be slides that will be made available for you, so you can always contact the Virtual Incubation Program at the VIP website and we'll send you a more detailed PowerPoint presentation. Now, throughout this video presentation, we're going to learn that indeed selling is an art. It's an art and it's a skill that can be learned. Some people are better at selling than others, but don't worry about that if you don't consider yourself an excellent salesperson. With training, there's no reason why you can't actually learn to sell effectively. Now, it's important to choose who you actually want to sell to. You need to learn to choose the right client for you and the right client for your business. There's no point in chasing sales leads that do not yield a margin. You have to decide on your margin and chase the profitable ones. It's a stark reality that if you don't win the money game, you have no business. Now, we've all heard the expression fail to plan. Fail to plan and you plan to fail. It is actually true. Now, most startup businesses and small businesses don't actually do a sales plan, but they should do a sales plan and you should do a sales plan. It helps you focus on the right clients to sell to, and these are the most valuable clients that will bring in revenue and, more importantly, bring in margin for your business. Okay, so you've decided to prepare a sales plan for your business. So let's take a look at the constituent parts of a sales plan. Firstly, we'll look at the sales objectives. Now, you need to set short, medium, and long-term objectives for the business. Your sales objectives could be to reach 100,000 of sales within 6 months. It could be to reach 3 million of sales within 5 years. That's entirely up to you. The second part is to look at your resources and match them against your sales objectives. So, for example, who are the key players in your business? What size team do you have? What are your sales budgets and what equipment do you have available? Thirdly, we look at market analysis. Now, this is obviously a key aspect. You have to look at the market as a whole, but you also have to look at what your competitors are doing and indeed what you think they are planning to do in the future. Then we looked at the product range or service range. You take a look at the range of products or services that are available for sale either by yourself or indeed by your competitors, and also look at new products that could possibly be introduced in the future. Now we're going to take a look at the other 4 elements involved in preparing a sales plan. We have activity analysis, we have the training plan, we have resource requirements, and an analysis of your sales strategy. Activity analysis is looking at the activity of yourself or your employees or your business partners purely from a selling point of view. You want to find out exactly how much time you're spending calling clients on the phone, attending client meetings, client presentations, ultimately all the activity that's involved and the time that's involved in preparing for and delivering and closing sales. Next, we look at the training plan. Now, in most cases for small companies or startup companies like your own, there's no requirement for a formal training plan per se. But what you do need to do is actually look at the training requirements of yourself or your other team members. It may well be the case that you are actually the only salesperson within your business. And if that's the case, that's fine. It's pretty normal in a startup environment. But what you have to do is take a look at yourself and actually find out where you would benefit from training, from other people actually helping you. Like, for example, are you good on the telephone? Are you nervous on the telephone? Do you like going to face-to-face sales meetings? Are you nervous when it comes to presentations? All of these things can be learned. It's worth bearing in mind that as a startup company or a small company, you don't really need to create a formal sales plan as such. As long as you have the activities carried out and as long as you have the details written down, it then becomes a working document and it's something that you can refer to either on a weekly or a monthly basis. It can change and it will change, but very important to put it down in the first place. Now that we've decided to do some actual sales planning, we're going to need to look at setting priorities. Now that's priorities for what you do on a daily or a weekly basis. So we need to look at doing the right things at the right time, and particularly from a selling point of view. If you're involved in selling to accountancy offices or insurance businesses, then it's very likely that you can only actually make those sales between 9 and 5, for example. Now, in this case, it's important to spend much more time selling between 9 and 5 than it would be, for example, to do your bookkeeping or your accounts. That's always information, and those kind of processes can always be carried out in the morning time or in the evening time. Next, we have to look at determining who your most valuable customers are. Now, in most cases, your most valuable customers, not in every case, but in most cases, it will be the sales that have the highest margin. You need to identify those customers, those sales prospects, and spend the majority of your time selling to those potential clients. Don't be tempted sometimes when there's a large order coming in. Now, it could be very valuable from a revenue point of view, and sometimes that is essential, but from a margin point of view, it might not be as good. Also, you really have to look at, do you have the time and resources to fulfill that order? Or could it be possibly that it's going to take 2 or 3 months of your time if there's only one of you involved in the business? And you have to look at the opportunity cost in terms of how many sales you possibly missed out by taking that job. So do consider it carefully. Analyzing your sales is key for every business, but particularly for startups. You need to decide what is it you want to make. Let's say, for example, you want to make €80,000. It could be for a 3-month period, it could be for a 6-month period, it could be for an annual period. So if your average order value is, let's say, €1,600, then it's very clear you require 50 orders. Now, it's important to look at your quotation to order ratio, because obviously when you send out quotations, not everyone accepts those quotations. Similarly, when you make sales visits, not every time you make a sales visit, not every client wants or actually gives you the opportunity to quote. So I'm just looking at some basic ratios here where, for example, when you send out a quote, 1 and 2 will actually take you up on that quotation. When you go and make a sales call, 1 and 2 or 50% will actually request that you send a quotation. So within that given period, whether it was 6 months or a year, then we can clearly see that the quotations needed to be generated as 100, and you need to visit 200 sales clients. Now, that's an awful lot of sales visits. That's an awful lot of time-consuming quotations and proposals to be sent out. But you know that is the reality. So you have to plan that. Now, looking at this key analysis that we're looking at the moment, if that is the case, then there's a number of things that you could actually take from it. For example, it's possible that your order value is too low. Maybe you need to start chasing customers that would have double that order value, for example, 3,200. Well, immediately in this scenario, it would cut your visits down to 100 and your quotations that need to be generated by 50. It's not a simple process, but it's an important process to go through and to actually analyze and actually see what the reality is and plan for that. If anyone tells you that selling is easy, don't believe them. Selling is indeed a real challenge. It's not something that comes easy for most of us. It requires a lot of training, a lot of practice, a lot of rehearsal, a lot of evaluation. It's also important that you get feedback from those people you've already sold to, and more important, to get feedback from those people you did not sell to. So it really is a learning process, and you have to refine your sales methods. But the most important thing to realize is that people buy differently. You can learn all you want about selling, but if you do not learn about buying and the actual buyers out there, it will make it very difficult for you to match your sales methodology with the particular buyer that's sitting in front of you. So we'll take a look at the different buyers that exist now in a few moments. So you've gone through your sales planning, you've identified your target audience, and now we have to look at the different buying personas of customers that are out there. So you don't want to spend your time chasing the wrong clients, as we said. You want to change the good clients, and they're the desired clients. They're the ones that have the highest margin for your business. always the best clients to follow up on. So what are the types of buyer that's actually out there to buy your products and services? Effectively, there are 4 different buyers, regardless of what you're selling. We've got the analytical buyer. This is someone who lacks assertiveness and responsiveness. They're called analyticals. We have the amiable buyer, person who likes to be your friend. They're highly responsive, but not very assertive. We have the expressive buyer, highly assertive and highly responsive. And then we have the driver. The driver is highly assertive but not very responsive. So it's important to realize whether you're dealing with an analytical buyer, an amiable buyer, an expressive buyer, or the driver. All these different buyers need a different sales approach. So you need to be prepared to highlight the relevant information to the relevant buyer type. So we'll take a look now at some more detail as to how these buyers operate within the sales process. When you're actually preparing your sales pitch, you've got to be thinking about that buyer. Once you've identified that buyer type, you want to feed that buyer what he or she needs to hear in order for you or your business to make a sale. Okay, so we're going to go through and take a look at understanding the different buyer behaviors. As we're all aware, there are 2 parties involved in a business. We have buyers and we have sellers. Now, in this case, you're listening to me, you are the seller, and you want to reach those buyers. But it's important for you to get inside the head of those people you're trying to sell to. So let's just take a look at what buyers actually think about salespeople, and this is predominantly across the globe. They all have some very common elements in that they think salespeople, they don't listen, they're too pushy, they're too aggressive, they only want to take my money, and they don't really care about anything else. Well, that's one considered view. But if you take the view of yourself and just think about how do you feel when you go shopping, whether you go to PC World and you want to buy a new MacBook or a new PC, maybe you go to Debenhams and you want to buy some new clothes, maybe you go to other stores. You can actually realize that people do like to buy things. They don't necessarily have to be sold things. Now, having said that, some people do need a little more coaxing, and in terms of dealing with people and dealing with different buyer types, there are certain activities you will have to push hard on if you're going to try and make the sales for your business. They say opposites attract, but not when it comes to buyer types. Drivers love to buy from other drivers. Expressive people love to buy from expressive salespeople. Amiables from amiables and analyticals from analyticals. This is a fact, so you need to learn to handle these different types of buyers. Now, in the majority of cases, a startup business, you need to wear many hats. So you need to be that amiable salesperson, that analytical salesperson, or an expressive salesperson when required. So you need to be analytical when you're sitting in front of a potential buyer who could possibly buy from you. If you've identified that you're sitting in front of an amiable buyer, you need to be amiable and you need to like the guy or the girl. So you have to play the game. As I said at the beginning, it is a money game and you have to win that game if you want to stay in business. So let's take a look at how you actually sell to the different buyers. In this case, if you've got a driver that you're trying to sell to, they really don't appreciate doormats. For want of a better word, you need to meet them head on, be polite, but be firm. Be very assertive, maintain eye contact, use the facts and the logic, keep it efficient and to the point. And in this case, when you're dealing with a driver, learn to say no. If the deal is not suitable for you or your business, do not be afraid to say no. Now let's take a look at how we sell to an amiable buyer. In this case, you need to be an amiable seller. This is where the buddy-buddy approach needs to be used. You need to be friendly, you need to agree with this buyer, but more importantly, you really need to persuade them to buy. By all means, you'll need to be their friend, you'll need to find out about their interests and their family, but you will need to persuade these people to buy. Now we take a look at the expressive buyer. This can be fun as you actually give them the opportunity to buy from you, but make sure you close the sale Otherwise, they'll be off expressing themselves to someone else. So if it's a face-to-face meeting, look for that flip chart in the office. Just leave it with them. Believe you me, they will take over. But you must close them down and you must get commitment from this type of expressive buyer. And now we come on to the final buyer type, the analytical buyer. The analytical buyer is a logical person and he really expects a logical salesperson to be dealing with him. So this is where slow and steady wins the race. Analyticals make their buying decisions based on pure logic, which is their actual logic. So when you're dealing with analyticals, you don't want to push them into making a hasty decision. You want to take your time, just relax, keep to the details. And this is the only buyer type where it's actually good to point out what a product will not do as opposed to what it will do, because the analytical buyer will really appreciate this and thank you for that. And you may as well point out what it won't be doing, because this analytical person in front of you, they will find it out if you don't say it to them, and you're better off being upfront in this case. So this is where you must be wearing your analytical hat. So we've now looked at the different buyer types that exist, the drivers, the expressives, the amiables and the analyticals. I'm sure at this stage you know actually what kind of buyer you are. Are you a driver? Are you expressive? Are you analytical or are you amiable? I think everyone actually knows what type of buyer they are after they've seen the different classifications. But it's important for you in your business to be on the lookout to identify what kind of buyer is sitting in front of you. Who are you dealing with? If you are dealing with an analytical buyer, then you really need to be sending that person a spreadsheet, a chart, a graph. There's something that they can actually analyze. If you're dealing with an amiable, then you do not need to waste time creating analytical charts and Excel spreadsheets. So the key is to identify who you're actually selling to and what type of buyer they are, because that's the way you'll get the most from your selling activities and concentrate all your efforts into what will hopefully be a successful sale. Now we're going to take a look at the customer relationship tools that are available for recording information like all your sales activity, for example, all your sales calls. When you speak to a client on the phone or maybe you meet a client, that client might say, I'm not ready to buy right now. If that's the case, you need to record these details and make sure you contact them back in the future. I cannot stress enough the value of a customer relationship management tool. Known as a CRM tool, you'll find plenty of them on the web. Just Google CRM packages and you'll find plenty of free and paid ones. For example, Zoho and HubSpot, they both offer free ones. However, Encycly is an excellent paid CRM option. I think it costs around $29 a month, but you choose and go with the one you're most comfortable with, as long as you actually do use a CRM. You'll find that a lot of startup businesses actually start using Excel, but this becomes very cumbersome after a while and very, very difficult to manage. So you want to stay on top of your sales leads and make sure you follow up with those potential requests from buyers. So choose the best CRM option for you. As I said, free or paid, it's entirely up to you. Once you've identified the actual buyer type that you're trying to sell to, you can adopt different ways of selling to those people. For example, you can use relationship selling when dealing with expressives and amiables. Whichever method of selling you actually use, make sure it does match the buyer persona of the people you're trying to sell to. So for example, if you're dealing with an amiable or an expressive, you might want to find ways of keeping in touch with them. It could be a monthly newsletter, it could be a weekly email, or it could be a like on the Facebook page. Now, traditional sales methods can help you generate sales, of that there's no doubt. But don't forget to take advantage of modern day technology in your efforts. The internet will help you reach a larger customer base and communicate in very unique ways. But you need to approach online sales very differently than you would, for example, in a bricks and mortar shop. Because of the huge number of potential buyers, it's impossible to maintain a personal relationship with each online customer. In this case, you want to make sure that if something can be automated, make sure you do automate it and develop processes to save yourself time. In this digital age, don't forget the power of the telephone as a selling tool. Whether it's a landline or a mobile phone, you can use the phone, pick up that phone and ask a client for a meeting. The telephone has been around since 1876, and the first words spoken by Alexander Graham Bell were, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you." There's no reason why you can't pick up that phone and say, "Hi, my name is James. I would like to come and see you to talk to you about an excellent product that I think you might be interested in buying." So make sure you do pick up the phone. Now, given that it's 2017, a lot of your sales activity will involve digital sales activities. No matter what business you're in or what you're selling, you must have an online presence, be it a website, be it a Facebook page. You will need to do social media advertising. You will need to do Google adverts. Again, there's so much involved, but be extremely careful with your time if you need to outsource these activities if it's feasible. Again, when it comes to digital sales and digital marketing activities, make sure you're putting out the correct information that matches the target audience that want to buy your goods. You also need to bear in mind the person you're dealing with, the different buyer types, and change the marketing material appropriately to suit those types. So for example, if it's to analytical people, make sure you've got charts, make sure you've got graphs. If it's to the amiables and the expressives, you can be a wee bit more creative with your design. It's all about making sales, and wherever you can, you want to collect data to provide valuable information that will help you make sales in the future. So wherever you can, collect those email addresses, be it from business cards, from your websites, from your social media presence. The information you collect on potential sales leads is invaluable. You mightn't think so at the moment, but definitely in the future. So make sure you keep recording that information, and obviously make sure you save that information. If you're using a good CRM tool, for example Insightly, you'll be able to do regular backups, or the program itself will actually do backups for you. Finally, I want to sum up by saying that we've looked at the need to prepare a sales plan. We've looked at different buyer types and different buyer personas. We've looked at how you need to wear a different selling hat depending on who you're actually selling to. We've looked at the requirement to maintain a customer relationship management system known as a CRM system, and make sure you're collecting that data for future sales. I hope I've communicated the sales process well in this presentation, and hopefully you've learned how to identify buyers and, more importantly, how to sell to them. A copy of these PowerPoint slides can be emailed to you on request. Just contact us at the VIP website, that's creativespark.ie/VIP, and we'll send you a more detailed presentation that includes a lot more details than what you see in front of you in this video. If you remember one thing from watching this presentation, always remember it is a money game, and you have to find ways of winning that game. So best of luck with your new business, and thank you very much for watching.